Good morning and welcome to our daily devotional from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn. Very glad to have you with us on this Friday, February the 10th, 2023, as we are studying this week Moses' farewell speech in Deuteronomy chapter 30. And we've been focused this week on the last 6 verses of that speech, verses 15 through 20 of Deuteronomy 30. This morning I'm going to read the entire passage and offer some reflections and close us with prayer. So this is Deuteronomy 30, 15 through 20. See, I have set before you today life and prosperity, death and adversity. If you obey the commandments of the Lord your God that I am commanding you today, by loving the Lord your God, walking in his ways and observing his commandments, decrees, and ordinances, then you shall live and become numerous, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land that you are entering to possess. But if your heart turns away and you do not hear, but are led astray to bow down to other gods and serve them, I declare to you today that you shall perish. You shall not live long in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. I call heaven and earth to witness against you today that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life so that you and your descendants may live, loving the Lord your God, obeying him and holding fast to him. For that means life to you and length of days, so that you may live in the land that the Lord swore to give to your ancestors, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Well, I was having a conversation this week with the family about how each generation seems to think in some ways that its is the most difficult, that its generation is the hardest, perhaps the most depressing. Perhaps there's discussion about how often we find that stories of people being depressed or being down about the future, not optimistic at all about the future, whether it's economy or relationships or the earth. So lots of discussions about that, and I suppose you could argue about, what times are worse, which times in the past are compared to ours are worse, and compare how advances in technology have helped us in many ways, and medicine and technology certainly have made life longer. But the debate could be about whether life is better or whether even it's simply different. However one might argue that, this passage, I think, is an exclamation point that human beings need hope, and human beings need something to have faith in that goes beyond what is under their control. That is, to be able to live as Jesus says, life more abundant, life without a burden, without the yoke, but with a light burden. In order to live that way requires faith. And what's interesting about faith, of course, is that it doesn't provide the kind of security that perhaps money in the bank provides, or the healthy report from the doctor. It doesn't provide that kind of security. It provides a security concerning things that are always out of our control, things that have to do with life that is simply beyond us. And in Moses' speech, there's this appeal to living in faith. That is, to living in trust of God, holding on to God's commandments of righteousness toward others. Living in that relationship is central to this idea of faith. And I think that this passage is not so much about religion as an option, but it's really about being human as an option. And I would argue, I think, with most anyone, not about the existence of God or anything of that sort, but I would argue almost anyone about the necessity for faith, that human beings are built to need faith. And Moses is encouraging the early Israelites to have faith in God, to put their trust in something that lies beyond themselves and that is powerful enough to sustain life. Let's close with this word of prayer from W.E. Orchard. O light that burns and heals, O love that breaks and soothes the heart, O life that stirs and satisfies, how shall we endure thee? We have prayed so carelessly that thou wouldst show us thy love, forgetting that angels veil themselves before thee. We have longed to look upon the beauty of thy countenance, not considering whether anything would ever seem so fair again. We have sought to know all mysteries and never stayed to ask if we had fortitude to bear the truth. We have desired to follow after Christ, counting not his lonely way, his utter sacrifice, his broken heart. And now we have come at length to apprehend what such answered prayers might mean. Yet with the clearer light, we dare to ask them all again. Answer them even though we do not fully know, for we are tired of twilight, falsehood, and the easy way. Tremblingly, we place ourselves in thy hands. Lead us by thy love into fuller light and to more glorious life. Amen. Thank you for joining me this morning from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn, and I hope that you have a very good day. Goodbye.